Alright, picture this. You're cruising down a foggy Birmingham street in 1970, the air thick with factory smoke and the distant clang of hammers on steel. Suddenly that riff hits, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like a mechanical monster stomping through your skull. Yeah, that's Iron Man by Black Sabbath, the song that's been head-banging its way into every corner of pop culture for over half a century. Even if you're the type who swears you only listen to artisanal folk tunes or whatever's trending on TikTok, admit it, you know this beast. It's the ultimate earworm for metalheads, movie buffs, and anyone who's ever air guitared in the shower. Today we're diving deep into its origins, the wild ride of its creation, and why it's still crushing souls today. Buckle up, because this story's got more twists than Ozzy's on-stage antics, and I'll be your cheeky guide. Think a pissed-off historian with a pint in one hand and a devil horn in the other. Let's riff. First off, let's talk about how this monster was born. Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne on vocals, Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and Bill Ward on drums, were these working-class lads from Aston, Birmingham, basically the armpit of industrial England. They'd already dropped their self-titled debut earlier in 1970, which scared the pants off everyone with its occult vibes, but they were hungry for more. The spark for Iron Man hit during one of their jam sessions. Tony Iommi, the riffmaster himself, who'd lost the tips of 2 fingers in a factory accident, by the way, and still shredded like a demon, came up with that iconic opening lick. Do-do-do-do-do. Simple, right? But brutal. Ozzy hears it and blurts out, "It sounds like a big iron bloke walking about." Boom, title sorted. Geezer Butler, the band's resident lyric wizard and a guy raised in a strict Catholic family, takes that and spins it into gold. Or steel, I guess. The lyrics. Oh, they're a trip. Has he lost his mind? Can he see, or is he blind? It's not about Tony Stark blasting off in a suit. Sorry, Marvel fans, Butler swears he never read those comics as a kid. No, this is sci-fi horror with a biblical twist. Picture a dude who time travels to the future, sees the end of the world, apocalypse, fire, the works. He rushes back to warn us idiots, but zaps through a magnetic storm and gets turned into a man of steel. Literally. Now he's this mute metallic freak, and everyone's like, "Piss off, Tin Man." Ignored and pissed, he flips the script and causes the very doom he predicted. Self-fulfilling prophecy, baby. Butler later spilled in interviews that it's an allegory for Jesus Christ, hero one day, crucified the next. But instead of turning the other cheek, this Iron Man goes full vengeance mode. Nobody wants him. He just stares at the world. Chilling, right? And funny in a dark way. What if the Messiah showed up as a rusty robot and said, "Screw forgiveness, time for payback"? Butler drew from his obsessions: Hammer, horror flicks, H.G. Wells novels, even childhood nightmares about the occult. He was reading mags like Man, Myth and Magic, dreaming prophetic crap that'd make you soil your flannel. Obscure trivia alert. The original title was Iron Bloke, straight from Ozzy's Brummie slang. Imagine if they'd stuck with that. Sounds like a pub regular nursing a hangover. But here's a pun to lighten the load. Why did Iron Man join Black Sabbath? Because he heard they had heavy metal. Badumts. Alright, moving on before you unsubscribe. Now zoom into the album context. Paranoid, their second record, dropped like a bomb in September 1970 in the UK, January 71 in the US. Recording was chaos, but the good kind. They hammered it out in just a few days at Regent Sound Studios in London. Live in the room, no fancy overdubs. Producer Roger Bain and engineer Tom Allen were sweating bullets trying to capture Bill Ward's thunderous bass drum. Those mics back then couldn't handle the boom, so it was all trial and error, like miking a volcano. The band was fresh off a grueling tour, including a 6-week stint at this Zurich club called the Beat Club, where they'd jam for hours, birthing riffs in the haze of Swiss beer and cigs. Paranoid, the song. Total afterthought. They needed filler, so Tony whipped it up in minutes. But Iron Man was the beast lurking in the tracklist, clocking in at nearly 6 minutes of sludge. Release Shenanigans. Oh, plenty. The album shot to #1 in the UK, thanks to the single Paranoid blowing up. But in the US it took a bit, peaked at 12 on Billboard. Iron Man as a single hit #52 stateside, their best chart showing there. Initial reception was mixed. Critics called Sabbath mindlessly primitive, but fans ate it up. Rolling Stone later ranked it high on their greatest songs lists, and a live version from their '98 reunion snagged a Grammy for Best Metal Performance in 2000. Imagine the band, these grizzled vets, finally getting props after decades of being dismissed as devil-worshipping goons. Ward once joked in an interview that they recorded so fast because they couldn't afford more studio time. Broke lads making history on a shoestring. And get this trivia. The album was almost called War Pigs, but the label chickened out over Vietnam vibes, so they slapped on Paranoid instead. What if it had been Iron Man the album? We'd all be debating if Ozzy was secretly Stan Lee. Speaking of laughs, here's an absurd what if. What if Iron Man time-traveled to 2025 and saw us all doom-scrolling on phones? He'd probably go, "I warned you lot about the apocalypse, but no, you had to invent TikTok dances." Satirical swipe. Modern metal bands owe everything to this riff, yet half of them sound like they're auditioning for a cereal commercial. Crunchy but no soul. Alright, let's crank up the drama, how Iron Man rose to mythic status. Controversies? Not as juicy as you'd hope. No lawsuits over the title. Marvel never sued, though execs apparently tried to block the song from the 2008 Iron Man movie soundtrack. Can you imagine? Too on the nose, they said. But director Jon Favreau fought for it, and bam, end credits perfection, with Robert Downey Jr. blasting Sabbath in his workshop. Pop culture ripple effects? Massive. Tony Stark rocks a Sabbath tee in The Avengers, cementing the nerd metal crossover. Wrestlers the Road Warriors reworked it as their entrance theme in the 80s. We are Iron Men, all spikes and face paint. Misunderstandings piled up, though. Folks thought it was satanic, but Butler's a Christian at heart. Lyrics more cautionary tale than Devil's Playbook. Band got flack for occult themes, but it was all from their blue-collar fears. War, madness, the man-machine grind. Cultural impact? It defined heavy metal history, that riff inspiring everyone from Metallica to Nirvana. Slipknot's Corey Taylor calls it the blueprint for aggression. And obscure bit. In the 70s, some radio stations banned Sabbath for promoting negativity, yet Iron Man snuck through as a sci-fi yarn. Mini cliffhanger. But what happens when a song like this gets sampled in hip-hop or covered by weirdos? Hold that thought. Humor break. Why doesn't Iron Man play hide and seek? Because good luck hiding when your riff announces you from a mile away. Or self-roast. As a storyteller, I'm basically the Iron Man of yarns, steel-plated facts. But if you ignore me, I'll just rant louder. Now, legacy and lasting weirdness. Iron Man endures like rust-proof steel, certified gold in the UK, platinum in New Zealand, still charting sporadically. Covers? Endless. Metallica did a killer version on their Garage Inc. album. The Cardigans turned it loungy in the 90s, all bossa nova and irony. Even William Shatner narrated a spoken-word take. Captain Kirk meets the apocalypse, what a trip. Samples? Hip-hop heads like Busta Rhymes flipped it in This Means War. Doom metal bands worship it as gospel. Influence on heavy metal? Sabbath birthed the genre, but Iron Man gave it the growl, that down-tuned menace, the plodding tempo mimicking a cyborg's stomp. Bizarre fan stories? One dude tattooed the lyrics backwards so he could read them in the mirror. Talk about self-fulfilling ink. Another trivia nugget. Butler revealed in 2023 that the Jesus parallel was intentional, flipping the forgiveness script for drama. Fans have spun theories, time loops, AI warnings, but it's all Butler's brainchild. Ripple effects? Without this, no thrash, no nu metal, maybe no mosh pits. Bands like Pantera cite it as riff school. And in a weird twist, it's used in therapy for tinnitus sufferers. Iommi's finger loss led to his heavy style. No whelping ears. Cosmic. Pun time. Iron Man's legacy is so heavy it could press your vinyl collection flat. Or what if Sabbath covered Marvel Comics instead? Paranoid Android would be a whole different vibe. Wait, that's Radiohead, my bad. Wrapping this up with a bang. So there you have it. The full metal jacket on Black Sabbath's Iron Man. From Birmingham basements to blockbuster credits. A riff that refuses to rust. If this got your head banging or your sides splitting, smash that like button, subscribe for more rock lore with a side of sarcasm, and drop your wildest Iron Man stories in the comments. Did it soundtrack your first kiss? Or your robot uprising fantasy? Share away. Until next time, remember, in a world of plastic pop, be the iron bloke. Vengeance is optional. Peace, or should I say heavy peace,